Good day, everyone. Welcome to another KD section. My name is Amoo over Farouk. We'll be discussing on anti-pattern to avoid as a developer. So, first and foremost, what is an anti-pattern? Anti-pattern is refers to you use what solution that initially what seems useful, but later turns out to be what more harm than good. They use that you use to fix a short-term problem at an expense of your long-term goals. Now, what is an anti-pattern? Anti-pattern is these are things that you think it's useful or it can actually solve our initial problem, but later comes more harm than good. So, an example: if you have an headache, they ask you to take 2 doses or 3 doses, but due to your anxiousness or you want to actually relieve the pain, you take 10 doses. Now, the word your initially headache will be gone, but you are causing more harm in future to your body. So we'll be looking on some anti-pattern in programming, things we think it's useful for us, but these things are actually waiting for us in the future. So permitting optimization. Now, good timing is a critical factor in coding. We all know that in programming you deal with time, deadline, you have to do this before this, you have to submit this before this. So optimization is spending a lot of time on something that you may not actually need. What does this mean? You are wasting your time much on analyzing. You are spending your much time doing what you are not asked to do. You are spending much of the time adding more features that you are not needed in your application. So in order to avoid this, you must follow some pattern. Here again, that is, you are not gonna need it, because if you spend much time in just a login page, when are you going to an home page? So just do the best you can in a particular module, the standard method, and move on. So you validating too much may actually cause your application to stop. That is, programming optimization is just like thinking but you didn't know. Due to what you have been doing it's that way does not mean it may be done that way. Following the right documentation is provided, making a proper research for starting a project before starting a project, or using a language. So what does this mean is, you declaring a variable the way you did does not mean there is not an improving way, or there is not a better way to do that. So don't spend much of your time doing what you don't actually need at that time. So just do the one that is the best and the standard, and move on. So that is Premature optimization. Now we'll be following scope the rope. Now, calling a scope rope is a future scope. We have all experienced this anti-pattern. A client add more and more requirement until the project far expect the initial understanding. Now, this deal with both you and the client. You didn't want the client to take advantage of your team, and you don't want to ridicule yourself in front of your client. So your client keep adding more features, adding more requirement, adding more things. So you have to clearly stated in your to your client that there is already learned pattern or an existing analysis for this particular project. So the client also will recall back that fine, there is an approach before adding another features. Because if you tell the client no, it's just as if you are not worthy for the or you are not qualified for that job. they investing the what the well. Now the and pattern is something also what refers to our designing in vain. It happens when you want to do everything, but other what you actually want to do everything and write everything from what scratch without looking for already existing what method, API or library. Now this mainly deal with upcoming programmers or upcoming developers. You are anxious to do more, you are anxious to write everything from the scratch. This is what one of the bad anti-pattern rather, because you don't need to stress yourself doing that when you have a better what library or API to do that. So use those existing what things because they are already tested by different programmers out there. They are well documented for you. So just don't stress yourself coding everything from scratch. Pick up an existing API or an existing library, keep building on it and keep learning it. That will make you what more better than what creating everything from the scratch. Spaghetti what code. Now spaghetti code is a problem that most future coder anti-pattern. It describes an application that is hard to debug or modify because of the lack of proper architecture. Now spaghetti coding is just like you coding just to make things work. You don't care about other developers coming to pick up the project or you visiting the project in the next years or the next 6 months, 5 months, and you unable to understand it yourself because you are a programmer or you are a developer. You have thousands of things to do after you've left that project. So you just coding everything not properly documented, not properly stated, just trying to make things work is a very bad practice. Now, if you're actually coming from a background of maybe QBasic, Fortran, or COBOL, you actually use some method called GoTo rather. So if you check this code, this is actually what an if statement that is just referring from what. Let us take an example. If sum 98 minus 3 dot this is actually going back to what? To 14 line 23 and line what 23 again. Now this is what a spaghetti code. You can't It's not easily debugged by no programmer or new developer. And you yourself, if you visit this in the next 6 months or 1 year, you might or may not even understand anything in your program, and you are the one that actually did that job. So you have to make your job more neat and more documented. There's a lot of things you can use. You can use comment, function, and classes. You can use if or if else to do this thing. So the rule 19, the 99% rule. You have completely 99% of the work. So the final piece should be easy to complete, right? Yes, the answer is yes. If you believe this, you are learning of 99% anti-pattern. It's a common mistake to understand that time and effort it will take to begin a project that lasting beats across a final a line. Now what does this mean? Fine, you're starting the project and you're almost done. So you have to complete it in time, not waiting. I'm almost done and let me take a 1 month break or 1 week. You have to finish that project because if you didn't finish it on time, it might actually meet the deadline or they now call you back. Hey, so you have to submit this tomorrow morning, and you are not yet done or you have not pushed it online due to the anxiousness or due to the deadline. You might just did something wrong and the project might not be actually in table before the time, and so this can cause more harm to you if you are doing a project. Do it and finish it Because as a programmer, it's either you are what, 1 or 0, you are true or false, you are clock or what, anti-clockwise, you are there or you are not there. You can't be what, in the middle. If you are not done, you are not done. If you are almost done, that means you have not done. So this is a bad after practice. If you are doing a project, finish it on time, do everything, test it, debug anything, so that you can actually meet what, the deadline. Programming by what? Permutation. Now, programming by permutation or programming by what? Accident. Now, what is actually thing here is that you having a project in hand or a particular module for you to what, to debug or to deploy. Now, this programming in what, in permutation is you're having an issue, right? Fine. You have to make some research on how to solve it. So on your line, on your way doing that, you copy some code from different websites, copy and test, debug, copy and test, debug. So finally you get one working for you. Don't forget to comment those ones that are not working or remove them, because if you don't comment, they might actually what, work that day, because your brother saved some cash. As a developer, you must have overcome cash when you develop an application and it work in the morning, to the next morning you on it and it's not working. It's due to the what, to the cache in your what, in your browser. So you have to what, remove them. Try as much as possible to take note of the what, the line of code that is actually working for you. So that it will actually make your work easier. Don't just copy and just it's working. Please take note of that, just because of your what, debugging. Now, the one liner. For some reason, some developer feel that they are only on what, a certain number of name line in the world, and there must be what, reduction as what resources. Now, what this means is you feel like everything should be in one line. You want everything to be very easy for you. Just write it in one line, let them work. Now, this will cause a line what, over what, complex, long, and what, hard to read. So when coding, remember thinking about those coming after you. Your code should be easy to read and have a what, flow to it. Each line should actually what, a single unit of what, of work. Now, what this means is each line of code should work for a particular thing. Now you checking this out, you saying the first one, that is 5 is greater than b. This is an if statement, but you doing this is not the best practice for you. But you might think it's working now, it's the same thing, it's printing out the same answer, but this is not actually what the best practice. You can actually do it this way. You breaking everything down, not just because of you, just because of someone coming or you visiting this code after 6 months or a year or any year. You are coming back to what, for your code. So avoid one line of code as much as possible. This will never now, this will never is, as a programmer, you shouldn't neglect anything you are doing, or you are coding, or you are starting a project, you are validating, you think, let me use this, let me use if, not putting else. Now, you not putting else might work, but you should cater for what else, because you don't know how smart the user might be. Testing or test running some things your program and writing an error, or not doing what the program actually meant for. It's a big shit on you, because user actually wants something efficient and what, smart. Like this happen part in what, synchronizing of a lazy what developer. This will never be known. This will never turn and what, an exception. 6 months later, hey, your code is break. What's that true? And what? And I said, now when they call you back, you'll be like, wow, I've catered for everything, but your laziness will actually cause more harm than good. cater for everything. If you are using try, you catch it. If you are using if, try for else, because your else might actually what you can just pop up with what an error in hence. Hey, user name and password is not what is incorrect. So you doing this will what cause, it won't cause more harm to you on the long run, but you neglecting things that this won't happen might cause more harm to you and to your team. So lava flow. When speaking about lava flow, and that's pattern when we need to deal with coding that has reduction or low quality pattern that seems to be what integrated to the program. Yet we did not what completely understand what it does or how it effectively the whole application is. Now this make it easy to remove it. Now lava flow is you are given a project, the project is huge or ambiguous, and you just see everything working, you don't know what this component is for, you don't know what this is for. Now this lava flow won't allow you to delete or to what to do anything in that project. It usually happen when neglecting what code or when the code was written by what someone else. That is, you are afraid of what tampering anything. So this lava flow is a problem for us when you are doing a project. Don't be afraid to touch anything. When you are touching, you run it. Is that okay? If not, or comment it or what comment it to check what this is actually what working for. Because you not touching anything or you are afraid of touching on something won't make you what be more productive. Comment it, run it, check what is actually what meant for. So with that, you overcome the lava what flow. Analyzing reality. What is what over analyzing to the point that is preventing action and what progress. Now as a developer, you don't need to what over analyze. Analyze and implement. Analyze and implement. Now if you are analyzing too much or you are over analyzing, it will make that project stop, because you are creating a website, you are actually designing the home page, you have not even done anything in the home page, you are thinking of adding more features, you are thinking of adding this, why can't I hide this, why can't I hide this. Now as a developer, this won't make your project go further. You will just be stuck on that page. You won't go to other pages or other function of the project. So don't over analyze. Analyze your work as possible as you can and start working. So over analyzing can slow down or stop progressive centering. In a certain case, the result of the analyzing can become overstimulated by the time they are done or want. The project might never leave the analyzing point. As I've said earlier, analyze your program and start working. So if you add any other features, you pend it or you note that down, just because of to make your work more efficient and easier. Cart before the horn. This happen when projects priority are optimized of what they should be. Too much resources are allocated to the project segment that is dependent on something else getting done first. Without that other part is done. This important work fundamental and fail working time, effect, budget and moral. Now cart before the horn. What this means is things are more important than the order. Why can't you do the most important and move to the important aspect? Now we all know in an application the first thing is the user. So why can't you do the user module before doing the other part? Do the most important part and later do the less important part, because there is any program you are developing, there are important module in your application. So do that first before doing the less important, because you might think as a beginner, let me do the soft part, so I'll just have time and do the hard part. No, the hard part might be the what important, that do that first before moving to the hard part. So God classes that control many other classes and have many dependencies and a lot of what responsibility. This is what we call what God class. So that we know the God is the creation of all human things that live on this earth. Now, as a word upcoming developer, you don't have to do this. You having all your function or everything in one class. Now this might work. This will actually work for short term, but on the long run, you adding more features will be more tedious to debug. Now, God class tends to go to a point of becoming maintaining what maintaining maintenance what becoming the benefit of single responsibility what process. They are hard to test, debug, and what documented. So you have to what avoid this, not putting every function in a particular class. Now let us see this. This is one class and having thousands of what function or what responsibility. Now in a long run, you might actually want to this class might actually want to stand on its own or adding more features. So this might not make your work easier. It might not be easier for other developers to debug. So you just have to split your class as much as possible. You have create a function that you can call from other classes. So this will make your work more easier, manage and debug. Now God class, we mentioned earlier God class that you put in everything in a class. This is actually caused by fear of adding class. Now because you think, let me just put everything one side, let me just put everything one side and let me go. Now it's because of fear of adding class. You're having fear of adding classes in your application. Believe that more classes necessarily means designing more complicated, lead to a few of adding more classes or bringing larger classes into several smaller classes. Now you have to bring down your classes as much as you can. Let each classes serve for each purpose. Let each function serve for each purpose. If you are creating a function to get user information, use that for only user information. You can create another class to validate for user login, use that class, not having everything in one class. So don't be afraid of adding class in your project. You are the owner of the project, you are the owner of your code. So do it to the fullest or understandable method. Now let's check this out. Now the first one is shape. Now each shape has different classes on its own, and you can see this is shape has its own classes, circle and rectangle. You can see this is splitted, not compared to the other one. Now shape, fine, it is shape. We have different shape, so you can split your shape into different classes to make your more effective, just because of upcoming developer that will be visiting your code. Because if they actually see shape, okay, what is this shape meant for, to troubleshoot or to debug can be more harder. So you're creating shape, you have circle, you have rectangle, you have square. This will make them okay, I'm troubleshooting for all, I'm checking for circle. You can just actually go to the class of circle. So don't be afraid of adding class. Add more class as much as possible. Next is character expensive. Now we know in programming you can write your code anyhow you like. Your output might be the same thing, but this is a bad practice. We are talking about anti-pattern to avoid. Now character, you are the owner of it. Naming convention is very important in programming. Name your program very easy and effective. Don't name it something that is not relevant or not related to what you are doing. Now having you what even run into a what code where the developer use tons of what abbreviative or short what method variable what name coding need to be what read by what people. Now compare this, we have I, we have comp object what var. What are all these? You can't what easily what understand as a what as a visitor to okay let me see your code. You just check the code. What is I? You have to what explain to the user okay the I is meant for this is meant for this, but check the other what deleting what variable what id. It is more what explanable for the what for user or for your what other what developer to understand okay this variable is meant for this compared to the what to the first one. So your variable, nobody's collecting money from you. You are the owner of it. Name it related to what you are actually what doing, not abbreviating, because you abbreviating will work, that is fine, it will actually work, but this is not the what best practice. This is a bad what coding what habit. So name your what program related to what you are doing and what in full what details that anybody visit your code anytime we what actually get that what right. What inventing name what sorry during any programming career they will like having to look through what old what code, also knowing what a software what architecture which could have been written by a person who is no longer with the what organization. Now what is this? Your code what you are working in an organization right now, you will develop an application, you are what you might leave as early as what possible. Now even the developer will likely found hard what code number that seems what I'm doing because they have what lots listen to what more content about there that can form a what want to do. Now magic number are number that people don't understand. You just bring them from what from anywhere, just like a constant variable, maybe solving from area of rectangle that where pi is what 3.142 or 22/7. Now this is a magic number because in your formula you just get 22/7 and look where did this guy get what 22/7. Now where is what this guy would get 22/7. So you stating that to your program like as a constant, pi equals what constant. So when I see what pi I can know that okay this pi is actually what 22 or what over 7. Cargo what called what programming. In another what common issue, the plugin software what development, when a developer use code that they don't fully what understand, such as object method or design pattern, it's considered what as a what cargo what called what programming. This usually become more what preventing what the big a code what base what get, since they make it more what likely the developer would add code without what knowing how it work. Now this is you are giving a project, add this feature, if you are just adding it you don't actually what get what that is what is meant for. When a developer use code that does not fully what understand, they can introduce what bugging or adding more than what is necessary to what to fix an issue. Now you are giving a project, I may mention it earlier, if you don't know what the method is for you can comment it and run and check, because you not understanding what you are doing is actually what a big problem, because they give you okay hey this site is not responsive, do it, letting me what be more what responsive. You just get there okay bam, you have a framework bootstrap, just start what coding, not understanding the previous code or the previous what issue. So you have to test it, run it, check what each tag are what meant for and what you actually meant to do, not just including your own code, because when you include it it might work fine that time, but in the long run it might actually cause an issue, things what shrinking, things not what displaying in your project. copy and paste programming. Is this a bad anti-practice? Okay, let us go there. Now, copy and paste occur when you did not follow the what? Don't repeat yourself coding what? Practice. So, don't repeat yourself coding practices. You what? You actually copy a code from maybe Stack Overflow or other platform, you paste it in your code and it works. Now, as a programmer, copy and paste is not a bad practice because you can't know everything. You have different issues. You must do that. Either you are a beginner or you are what? A pro. You must copy and paste some issue because you have to check online if you're having issue with your what? Your existing project and what? You comparing with your what? With your own. Now, when copy and paste is that bad anti-practice is you just copying and don't check what you are what actually copying. Let us take for an example. You are building what? A basic calculator. You have to press a button 1 2 3 4 5 6 7. So what you actually copied is what they stated it. Okay, when you click 1 it should be 1, when you click 2 it should be 2. You can actually go through the code and make it what? A 1 function different on what? A 9 or 10 word function, because you just pressing 1 2 3 you might not understand the full what architecture, but you going through the code, understand the logic, understand how it work, and you doing your own. That is when copy and paste will become what? Will not become a bad anti-practice, because I can basically understand before you copy and paste something, you must understand some concept about that. So take your time, read through the code, understand the logic, and you do your own. Because it's a human that actually do it, not an what? Not a God. So you can actually go through it, understand it, and what? Do your own. So magic number are number added in your program that's no longer known, how it come about, and the importance in your what? In your code. When not making it what? Constant, and refer it to and refer it in your what? In your program. Now, let's take up an instance. Int circumference, radius equals circumference multiplied by 2 divided by 3.142. Now, this will actually work fine. Yeah, it will actually work. But as a novice or someone that is not actually into programming or does not know the formula of what circumference, and you tell him radius equals pi, you tell him 3.142, it actually, when do you see this 3.142? Why can't you what? State it to your program as what? Constant pi equals what? 3.142. To what? To make the person understand that the pi is not about a magic number, it's a what? It's a constant. So this is one of the things you should consider as a what? The person, okay, you know this value is this, make it a what? A constant. Not just putting it in your function exactly how it is. Okay, you know the person username, or you are testing for things, make it a constant, then what? Define it in your what? In your class or in your function. That is what a best practice to do this. Because you just eating the nail on the bench or in the chair is not actually the problem, but you understanding what you are actually eating. So make your constant, make your number a constant and refer it, so that you will actually what? Avoid what? The magic what? Numbers. So writing the code once. Writing the code once is not the best way to improve as a word developer, not just because you are a senior developer. If code is written once and then after all you run the code and notice something will shows up, that is an error. Now, to debug the project or code will be very hard, because you did not know when and where the issue is and what to do next to overcome it. Now, coding once is a what? One of the coding bad coding habits. Not just because you are a senior developer, you think, wow, I know what I'm doing, you just blah blah blah, just code everything and run it. Now, as a what? Good and what? Effective programmer or developer, Write a module, run it. Write a module, run it. Not just because you don't know what to do, or you don't want to reduce your time, or you are so anxious, but you want an effective work, because you coding it once and you running it, you don't know where and what the error is, you don't know where to go first. This will actually take a lot of your time. This might actually be the error of the day. So avoid this. As you are writing your code, test run it. As you are writing it, test run it, so that it will make your work more effective and more faster. Troubleshoot that error once and keep moving, to avoid the 99% rules and anti-pattern. Comment to make it more easy. Now, as a developer, is comment important? No or yes? Now, as a developer, you must comment. Comment is one of the key things in programming. The compiler don't need your comments, the user don't need your comment, but you as a developer, the comment is meant for you to understand your code, maybe in the future, or in the long run. Comment one of the or comment is one of the important things to do when coding in programming. It might not be for you now, but 6 months or and above, you seen your code and understanding it can be more difficult to understand. Not just that you can't see it well, but you can't read what the code is doing. So this is the benefit of comment. You will see it, but it might take a time for you to analyze what it is doing. So I will advise you, comment every line of your code, and not just comment is the issue. Comment in a proper way, with a proper sentence. Not this is a function, login function. Comment in a proper way what that function or that variable or that class is meant to do, so that when you are visiting your code on a long run, you can see, this is the login that validates so and so. You know that this function is doing this without you reading the code. It will be easier for you to debug, maintain. So comment is one of the key things we programmer should do, both the upcoming developer and the senior developer. Try as much as possible, comment, and make your comment more specific. Not comment that a short but not specific. A login function, comment it and a proper sentence. Over compiling your code. Now, as a beginner, we look some things called code analysis, that is planning all the steps, and even your plan is well, but you yourself can complicate your project yourself, and that can make you stop or spend a lot of time on the project. Now, overcomplicating your code is, as a beginner, you have to, they told you, hey, the next assignment is develop a basic calculator. Now, a basic calculator is just to add numbers, subtraction, multiplication, and division. Just go straight to that. Don't add, don't remove. Finish that before you can add anything, because you are thinking, why can't I do it like this? Why can't I do it like this? Now, that might work, but as a programmer, your time is precious to you. Analyze what you've done. This is what I actually meant to do, that before adding more features, because if you keep complicating issue, you spend much time, before you know it, you might just done the project, and that project might be a life project for you. So don't complicate things. Do it the way they ask you to do it. Maybe you are a freelancer developer, or you are working on a team. What they ask to do, add a function to this, you should validate user, you should add user to the dashboard. Do that without hesitating, not adding unnecessary function to your code. This might actually cause a problem on the long run, because it is not actually documented for you. Especially and providing what function. Now, your function should have a what clear definition what possible, taking specified parameter and returning specific value, and the function should have specific value or important. Don't try and pack up 4 to what 10 functions together doing different what things, using one function for one thing and what do it what well. Now, what does this mean? This means when you're having a function is actually meant for what a particular what thing. Okay, if your function is to what to take over the what the party or to anchor a party, that is your function. Don't what serve, because you anchoring a party or you emceeing a party and you serving, you are complicating issue. As a developer, your function should straightly, okay, this function is for what for login, this function is for what user, this function is for seller. Do it that way, not piling up different tags for one for what for a function. This will work, that is actually fine, but on the long run, you adding and adding more features, it will be more difficult to what to debug, just because you are using one function for the whole system. So as much as possible, create more function. You can see here initialize, there is a function, game loop, there is a function, update and draw. These are what different functions that have what serve for what different what features. So try as much as possible, create function. You are the owner, create as much as possible. Don't make a god what classes. Don't be afraid of creating classes or function, and don't complicate your function. Create as much as possible what function for your to make your work more what effective. Don't know the fundamental. As a programmer, you do not have to jump into the core part, that is starting up a big project. Now, this is one of the what I can say, this is one of the big issue people have. You just say, hey, Flutter is out, hey, Python is out, hey, okay, let me do that, let me go and learn it. Fine, you learning it is fantastic, but don't jump into the core aspect, because you might be given a project, do this, fine. As you are doing the project, keep learning the basic, because on a long run, if you finish the project in hand, do you want to continue? If you jump into the core part, you won't understand anything. You will just see your code running fine due to copy and paste, or learning and implementing. So don't hesitate to learn the basic, because the basic is very, very important to make you more effective and more productive. So don't just jump into the core part just because you hear this or you hear that. Take your time, learn the basic. From the basic, keep moving. Before you see that, you move to the top. For you to move faster and have a better understanding in a particular programming language, you have to understand the basic of the language before going to the hard part. Note, not that you won't execute that project in your hand. You will only have the idea. Yes, I've said that earlier. You only have the idea in that language. Okay, when you have this, you go do this. When you have this, do this. But you won't fully understand what and what you are using it meant for. You won't understand the con or the advantage of it or the disadvantage of it, because you designing a login page and everything is showing, that is not all. There are so much that is attached to it. So take your time, learn the basic before moving to the core part. Do not practice make perfect, right? Yes, we know that, but why are you not doing that? Is it time? You are taking enough time? No. Keep practicing, learn and practice, because if you are learning and you are not practicing, that means you are not learning, because what you actually learn, it's meant to be to be used in different aspects, or to be execute some issue. So as you are learning, practice. You can learn for an hour and practice for 4 hours. Now you practicing for 4 hours will make you more productive. because okay, you just learn how to create an if statement. You can, okay, let me create a login page that what check for what user details. That is what you are practicing. You only learn what if, but along the line you learn what else when you are what practicing. So don't hesitate to practice, keep practicing, keep executing what project to make you what much effective or more productive. Giving up too soon. Now, giving up too soon. Wow. As a programmer, you are meant to face different challenges, different issues at any time, at any day. But don't give up. You giving up, you are making some other people to look that guy just started and just end that way. But you keeping moving, and moving, you actually what meet people that will actually solve the issue for you. Don't give up. Keep asking for people, keep trying your best in order to what to solve an issue. Google is your friend. Make fully advantage of Google. There is no any issue you are facing that Google don't have a solution for you. So try as much as possible. Google it. You actually see the related issue to your project, because there are some people that actually face that issue. So just take your time and Google it. Not asking for help. Now, I've made mention then giving up too soon. Now this is related to giving up. When you are not asking anybody, you didn't see help, you feel so depressed about yourself. But don't be afraid. You might be a junior developer, you don't understand, you just write a spaghetti code. Fine. Giving up the ask people about the help, ask people for help. Your spaghetti code can be easily debugged by them, because they are more experienced than you, and they can explain more to you. So keep asking for help, call people, chat people up. There are different mentors out there that you can actually pick or tweet up to help you. So don't be afraid of asking help. If even your programming is not well written or well documented, ask for help. People will help you in debugging it. So thank you very much. These are some of the anti-patterns that can actually speak. There are thousands of anti-patterns for you, but these are one of the most things you should notice as a developer. Thank you.